My beloved child, something about your soulmate has been hidden in plain sight, and the moment you understand it, everything you thought you knew about them may suddenly look different. They are not exactly who they pretend to be. The version you have seen, the calm face, the carefully chosen words, the way they sometimes act as though nothing affects them, is only the surface. Beneath it is a truth they have been protecting for longer than you realize. And here is where this becomes impossible to ignore. They are beginning to wonder whether you have already noticed. Don't skip, because the smallest detail may become the biggest clue. There were moments when their actions seemed to contradict their words. Moments when they became unusually quiet around you. Moments when they almost revealed something, then suddenly changed direction. You may have dismissed those moments as coincidence, but what if they were pieces of the same hidden story? Your soulmate has created a version of themselves that feels easier for the world to understand, yet around you, that version becomes harder to maintain. Something about your presence brings their real personality closer to the surface. And what they have been hiding is not simply another secret. It could completely change what you believe this connection means. Here is the twist you probably were not expecting. Your soulmate may appear confident about where their life is going, but privately, they have been questioning choices they once considered permanent. They have imagined conversations with you that they never had the courage to begin. They have replayed certain moments, wondering whether you noticed the meaning behind a look, a pause, or a sentence that ended too quickly. Stay till the end, because this is where the mask begins to slip. The person you thought was emotionally distant may actually be someone who feels far more deeply than they show. The person you thought had forgotten certain moments may remember tiny details with surprising clarity. And the person who seems determined to keep everything ordinary may secretly know that something about this connection feels anything but ordinary. But there is another layer. They are not hiding only how they feel, they are hiding who they are becoming. A major internal change has been happening quietly. Their priorities are shifting. Their idea of their future is changing. And somehow, whenever they picture the life they truly want, one unanswered question keeps returning: where do you fit into it? Something huge is waiting for you, because the answer leads directly to the part of themselves they have never been ready to show. And now comes the revelation that changes the entire direction of this story. In reality, your soulmate is a person standing at the edge of becoming someone completely different from the identity they have shown everyone else. Not a stranger. Not a false person. But someone whose real dreams, emotions, and intentions have remained carefully guarded. They have spent so long playing the role others expected that revealing their authentic self now feels like stepping into an entirely new life. Yet you may be the one person who has already seen fragments of that hidden side without realizing what you were seeing. Think about the unexplained changes. The unusual attention. The moments when they seemed ready to say something important and stopped. Those were not necessarily meaningless moments. They may have been cracks in the carefully built image they present to everyone else. Don't skip now, because what comes next is the detail that connects those cracks together. There is one specific truth about their future they have been unable to admit openly, and once that truth surfaces, the title of this story will finally make sense. Your soulmate is not who they pretend to be, and the identity underneath that carefully controlled exterior may be far more surprising than anything you have imagined. There is one detail your soulmate has been desperately trying to keep beneath the surface, and it explains almost every confusing moment between you. They have spent so much time appearing certain, controlled, and unaffected that people around them believe that version completely. But you have seen something others haven't. You have seen the pauses, the sudden changes in their energy, the moments when they looked ready to reveal something important, only to pull those words back at the final second. Don't skip, because those moments were pointing toward the same hidden truth. Your soulmate has been quietly rebuilding their entire idea of what they want from life. Things that once impressed them no longer feel important. Plans they once defended are beginning to feel incomplete. And strangely, the more they try to understand why everything feels different, the more their thoughts return to you. They may never have admitted this openly, but you became connected to a question they can no longer avoid. What if the life they have been presenting to everyone isn't the life they truly want? But the next layer is even more surprising. Your soulmate is beginning to realize that you may understand their real personality better than people who have known them much longer. That realization changes everything. Around others, they know exactly which version of themselves to show. Around you, something unpredictable happens. Their carefully rehearsed responses disappear. Their emotions become harder to disguise. Small details suddenly matter. A conversation can remain in their thoughts much longer than expected. Stay till the end, because there is something unusual behind this pattern. They have secretly wondered whether meeting you happened at exactly the moment when their old identity was beginning to feel too small. Imagine that. The person you thought was simply keeping their distance may actually have been standing between two versions of their future. The familiar one everyone expects and another one they have barely dared to imagine. And inside that second future is something they haven't told anyone yet. Now everything begins connecting. In reality, your soulmate is a hidden dreamer beneath the personality they show the world, someone carrying plans, emotions, and hopes far bigger than their outward behavior suggests. But even that is not the biggest revelation. Something huge is waiting for you. There is one dream they repeatedly tried to remove from their mind because accepting it would force them to reconsider everything. Yet every time they pushed it away, it returned stronger. Don't skip. This is where their secret stops being only about who they are and becomes about what they intend to do next. They have reached a point where pretending may soon become harder than telling the truth. And when that truth finally comes forward, you may discover that the greatest surprise was never that your soulmate had another side. The greatest surprise is that you have been connected to that hidden side for far longer than you realized. There is still one missing piece, though, one private decision they have been quietly moving toward. And once you discover what that decision involves, the entire story changes again. Something changed inside your soulmate the moment they realized they could no longer separate you from the future they secretly imagine. This is the part they never expected. They thought they could keep everything neatly divided, the person everyone knows on one side, their hidden dreams on the other, and you somewhere outside both. But that separation has started disappearing. Don't skip, because one realization has been following them everywhere. You somehow awaken the version of themselves they have been afraid to show. When they imagine becoming more authentic, more open, and finally choosing what genuinely matters to them, your presence keeps appearing in that picture. And this is why their behavior may have seemed so contradictory. One moment they move emotionally closer, the next, they become unusually reserved. One moment they seem ready to reveal everything, the next, they act as though nothing important happened. It isn't necessarily because they don't know what they feel. It may be because they are beginning to understand exactly what they feel, and that realization is much bigger than they expected. Then came a private moment that shifted something permanently. Your soulmate began mentally comparing the life they currently show the world with the life they would choose if nobody else's expectations mattered. The difference surprised them. Stay till the end, because this is where the hidden identity becomes clearer. Beneath the carefully controlled exterior is someone who wants genuine connection more than appearances, meaningful experiences more than approval, and a future that feels real rather than simply impressive from the outside. They started remembering the smallest things about you, something you said casually, the way you reacted during an ordinary moment, perhaps even a detail you assumed they never noticed. Those memories became evidence of something they couldn't explain away. You weren't simply occupying their thoughts. You were challenging the story they had been telling themselves about who they were supposed to become. Something huge is waiting for you, because after realizing this, they quietly made a promise to themselves, and nobody around them knows about it yet. That promise was simple, but its meaning was enormous. They would stop living forever behind a version of themselves created for everyone else's comfort. Don't skip, because this decision brings us closer to the unfinished words in the title. Your soulmate is not who they pretend to be. In reality, your soulmate is a deeply private person carrying a completely different vision of themselves beneath the surface. Someone far more thoughtful, emotionally aware, and future-focused than they normally reveal. Yet there is another secret beneath even that. Their hidden dream isn't only about becoming different. It involves making one choice that could finally reveal what you truly mean to them. They have already imagined the moment. They have imagined what they would say, what they would finally admit, and what might happen afterward. But there is one final question holding them back. Would you recognize the real person standing in front of you once the mask disappeared? That question is becoming impossible for them to ignore, because the decision they have been quietly approaching is closer than anyone realizes. Now the story reaches the point your soulmate has been avoiding, because the secret is no longer staying quietly inside them. Something has shifted. The version of themselves they created for everyone else is becoming exhausting to maintain, while the person underneath it is becoming stronger every day. Don't skip, because they recently understood something that completely changed the way they see you. You never needed the polished version. You never needed the carefully controlled personality or the perfect answers. Somehow, the moments that affected them most were the moments when you came closest to seeing what was real. A spontaneous reaction. An unexpected silence. A sentence spoken without planning. Those tiny moments stayed with them because, for a few seconds, they weren't pretending anymore. And afterward, one question kept returning. What if you could accept the person behind everything they normally show? That question has become more powerful than their hesitation. Stay till the end, because their answer to it is leading toward a choice they once believed they would never be ready to make. But here is what makes this revelation extraordinary. Your soulmate has started looking differently at everything they once considered important. Approval doesn't carry the same weight. Keeping everyone satisfied doesn't feel like enough. Even their old picture of success has started changing. Something huge is waiting for you, because underneath the identity everyone recognizes is someone who secretly wants a life built around authenticity, purpose, and a connection that doesn't require constant pretending. And somehow, you became associated with that possibility. Not because you forced anything to change, but because thinking about you showed them the difference between performing a role and actually feeling understood. That realization surprised them more than anything else. They began asking themselves why certain memories involving you still feel unusually vivid. Why certain words return at unexpected moments. Why imagining their future feels different whenever you are included in it. The answer they are approaching could overturn every assumption they have made about this connection. And this is where the hidden truth becomes almost impossible to conceal. Don't skip now. Your soulmate isn't simply hiding another personality, they are hiding a decision. A decision to eventually stop allowing expectations to define who they become. A decision to reveal more of their authentic self, even if doing so surprises people who believe they knew them completely. And there is one part of that decision they still haven't spoken aloud. It involves you. They have imagined finally standing before you without the emotional walls, without carefully rehearsed words, without pretending that your presence means nothing unusual to them. But something even bigger remains unrevealed. There is a reason they became so skilled at hiding this side of themselves in the first place, and understanding that reason changes the meaning of everything you have heard so far. Stay till the end, because once that final layer opens, you will understand why your soulmate built this hidden identity, and why meeting you may have become the moment that started breaking it apart. What your soulmate has never explained is that this hidden version of themselves did not appear overnight. For a long time, they learned to show people what was expected instead of revealing everything they truly thought, wanted, and dreamed about. Eventually, that carefully managed personality became automatic. Smile when everything feels uncertain. Say everything is fine when important questions remain unanswered. Keep the biggest dreams private until nobody can question them. But then you entered the picture, and something about that old pattern stopped working the same way. Don't skip, because this is where the mystery begins answering itself. Your soulmate noticed that around you, they wanted to speak differently. They wanted conversations to go deeper. They wanted to tell you things they normally kept locked behind ordinary words. And every time they stopped themselves, they walked away wondering why being understood by you suddenly mattered so much. That question became the beginning of an internal change they could no longer reverse. Then something even more unexpected happened. Instead of asking, "How do I keep hiding this?" your soulmate started asking, "What would happen if I finally showed who I really am?" Stay till the end, because that question opened a future they had never seriously considered before. They imagined choosing honesty over appearances. They imagined allowing someone to see their imperfect, unpolished, completely authentic personality. And somehow, when that imagined moment became clear, you were there. Something huge is waiting for you, because this wasn't simply about attraction or curiosity. You had become connected to something much deeper, their desire to finally live as the person they actually want to become. Suddenly, old priorities started looking smaller. Certain opinions stopped controlling them. Certain expectations began losing their power. Your soulmate realized that pretending might protect them from being misunderstood, but it could also prevent them from ever being truly known. And once they understood that difference, there was no easy way to forget it. But one revelation remains, and it may be the strongest one yet. Don't skip the unfinished sentence. In reality, your soulmate was never pointing toward a mysterious label. It was pointing toward a hidden identity. A person preparing for a transformation nobody around them expects. Someone who has spent years adapting to expectations but is quietly becoming ready to choose authenticity. Someone whose biggest secret is not what they have done, but what they are finally prepared to change. And you may represent the one connection where they no longer want to perform. Yet before they reveal that side completely, they need to answer one final question within themselves: are they ready to be truly seen? Because once they cross that line, returning to the old version of themselves may no longer feel possible. And there is one surprising thing they have already decided about you that could answer that question sooner than expected.